Hey everyone, Turd Flinging Monkey, how you doing? My video MGTOW She'll Never Love You has by far been my most popular video, having about twice as many views as my second most popular video, and 3 to 5 times as many views as my average videos. What's funny is I never expected it to be that popular. It was meant to be a bridge within my 3 Types of Feminism video series, and it was also one of my earliest videos, and not only is the audio quality terrible, but I hadn't yet figured out how to remove the breathing, swallowing, and noises from the audio. This will be a remastering and expansion on my She'll Never Love You video. If you're not into that sort of thing, just so you don't feel like you wasted a click, here's a video of a boy going down a hill on a snowboard and getting humped by a dog.
Oh, he made it!
Okay, so let's begin by establishing some foundational facts regarding human biology, especially in regards to the human brain, and build on that foundation a bit once we've laid the groundwork. Humans are animals. We, human beings, are animals. Specifically, we are mammals. We share numerous characteristics with other mammals, and even lesser animals found on Earth. Now, if you believe in God, this could be seen as a sign of a common creator. Kind of like the way you can identify an artist by similarities in their works. If you're an atheist, this is the product of evolution. As humans are the apex of evolution, our unique brains contain components taken from our primitive biological ancestors. Regardless of the origin of these similarities, their existence is undisputed. Knowing this allows us to look to the animal world to gain a greater understanding of our own instincts and behaviors, particularly those involving reproduction, as they are the most integral to any animal species for obvious reasons, and are thus contained in the most primitive part of our brain, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Our primitive instincts can easily override our rationality. Our highly developed brains, capable of rationality, invention, and self-awareness, are what make us the dominant life form on Earth. However, our brain is wired in such a way that our rationality can be overridden by our more primitive instincts and urges. Our brain is structured in 3 layers, each one built on top of the other, each one more complex than the other, but each one less able to control our decisions and behaviors than the other. The smallest and most primitive part of the brain is called the lizard brain or reptilian complex. It gets this name because this structure is found in lizards today. This part of the brain is in charge of biological functions such as regulating heart rate, breathing, balance, as well as survival and reproductive instincts. This layer of the brain is connected directly to the brainstem, and its functions are largely out of our conscious control. For example, you can consciously control your breathing, but it is largely automatic when you're not thinking about it, as is your heart rate and balance. In terms of reproductive instinct, this layer of the brain is responsible for those times when you've been quote-unquote thinking with your dick. When you did something completely irrational and possibly dangerous because all you could think of was to have sex. That was the lizard brain and possibly alcohol influencing you. The second part of the brain is known as the limbic system. This part of the brain is the emotional center of the brain, and is also in charge of the regulation of chemicals that cause pleasure, happiness, and adrenaline, as well as the formation of long-term memory and even your sense of smell. The limbic system is also in charge of those gut feelings that you can't rationally explain. This part of the brain is responsible for those times when you've quote-unquote followed your heart. You've made irrational and dangerous decisions because you were in love, or because it felt right. That was the limbic system influencing you. The third, final, and most advanced part of the brain is known as the neocortex. It is from this layer that we get our higher brain functions that define human beings. This is the layer where we get logic, reason, abstract thought, the ability to speak, read, write, and conscious control of our motor functions. Our instincts control us more than we think. Now that we understand how the brain works, we need to appreciate the fact that even in modern times, with all our technology and advancement, we are still largely controlled by primitive instincts and urges, so much so that it may shock you. Think about the last time you asked yourself why you wanted something. Was there a rational reason for your desire, or did you simply want it for some unexplainable reason, and when you got it, it made you happy and gave you pleasure? When this happens, realize that you are being manipulated by your more primitive brain, the limbic system in this case, and you didn't even realize it. But then again, why would you question it? They are your own thoughts after all, aren't they? Your thoughts, the thoughts coming from the more primitive parts of your brain, the parts responsible for emotion, memory, reproduction, and even happiness, have made you a slave. Your master are your urges, and they will lead you, as they have led countless men before you, to sacrifice yourself upon the altar of genetic reproduction. Many who recognize things in society, such as gynocentrism and male disposability, blame feminism, or believe that it was orchestrated by cultural Marxists, but they are wrong. The enemy that has enslaved men is not in the gender studies department of some university, or within some political party or ideology, but behind your eyes and inside your skull, and which is allowing you to hear and understand the words I'm speaking to you right now. The male bowerbird builds an intricate nest to attract a female, and the female, which only mates once a year, tours the bachelor pads of these would-be suitors, chooses the most impressive one, and rewards that male for his hard work with sex and reproduction. Another bird with similar simping behavior is the Eurasian jay, in which the male gives gifts of food to the female in order to impress her enough to earn the privilege of sex and reproduction. These behaviors did not come from some avian feminist movement, or winged cultural Marxists who've tainted the holy bond between male and female birds. They simply came from nature. Males, humans included, have been imprinted through our primitive brain with an irrational urge to compete with other males, acquire resources in order to attract a mate, and to reproduce and propagate our species. This pleases our lizard brain, and the limbic system floods our brains with dopamine and makes us feel pleasure and happiness as we fulfill these primitive urges, even at the cost of our long-term health and fulfillment. This is not rational choice, but rather primitive biologic impulse. While these impulses helped human beings climb to the top of the food chain and dominate all of their life forms on this planet, it was not without a cost, especially to men, who are naturally less valuable for reproduction than women. To demonstrate this, imagine a small tribe of 100 people, 50 men and 50 women. If they paired off into couples, the tribe could possibly grow by 50 people every 9 months or so. If 40 out of the 50 men died, the remaining 10 men could still impregnate all 50 of the women, meaning that the tribe could still grow by 50 people every 9 months or so. However, if 40 out of the 50 women died, the tribe could only grow by a maximum of 10 people every 9 months or so, a devastating loss to the tribe. And since there are 50 men and only 10 women, those 50 men will compete and possibly kill each other in order to gain reproductive access to the remaining women, thus damaging the tribe even further. This is why when a ship is sinking or a building is burning, that the women are saved first. It's not just an old-timey tradition harkening back to chivalry, but a biological imperative. Our instincts are to protect women, especially attractive and fertile women who have good genes. This is why women receive far less harsh sentences for the same crimes as men. Our lizard brain triggers an instinct to protect young, attractive, and fertile women. Even if you're happily married or gay, attractive women will trigger an instinct to be kind and protective to them. You want to protect them and you want to impress them because your lizard brain subconsciously wants to mate with them. Remember, the lizard brain operates on instinct and we cannot control our instincts, only recognize them. Women are just as much of a slave to their biological urges and instincts as men, but due to their roles as reproductive gatekeepers, their lot has always been less brutal than that of men. A woman's biological imperative drives her to seek out men with resources that they will provide for her as well as protection. This is known as hypergamy and has a biological basis. In the animal world, pregnant and nursing mothers are physically vulnerable and require more food than normal as they produce milk, especially if they give birth to multiple offspring. Since the female requires protection and additional food while nursing, it only makes sense that a woman's biological instincts would cause her to be attracted to men with resources and a dominating presence, either through their physique, demonstrating physical superiority, or through their take-no-bullshit alpha male bad boy attitude. All of these characteristics are attractive to women on an instinctual level. If resources are abundant enough, the female may not require a male to provide for her, and will join a harem of other females around males with the best genes, like an animal version of sister wives. How the environment and an abundance or absence of resources affects how females are attracted to the opposite sex is an interesting topic. If you want to know more, I'm linking to a Davis-Arini video called RK Selection Theory in Practice. So it's obvious that men and women have different biological drives. Men seek women for their health and fertility, primarily via visual cues such as youth and beauty. Meanwhile, women seek men for their resources and ability to protect and provide for them, primarily via social cues, such as a man's career and status. However, notice that there is an important disparity between what women and men seek. which brings us to the fourth truth and the reason